Recording in progress.
So welcome everybody, day 11 of this fantastic book, Change Your Question, Change Your Life. So we will be talking about tool number 4, then getting on to the reading of chapter number 7. So tool number 4, distinguished learner and judger mindsets and questions. The reference is in C chapter 3, the choice map, page 50 for the list of the learner and judger questions. And see chapter 6, switching questions, page 86 for the full learner judger chart. Now, the purpose of this tool is to help you distinguish between a learner and judger mindsets and how they affect your thinking, actions, relationships, and results. In chapter 3, Joseph shows Ben how to use the list of learner judger questions to identify the kind of questions he's asking and their impact on him, on other people, and on situations around him. As Ben gains greater facility with question thinking, Joseph gives him tools to identify learner and judger mindsets and relationships. The following exercise allows you to have an experience similar to Ben's as he refines his ability to recognize intellectual, emotional, and physical differences between being in learner and being in judger. So the practice is look at the judger column of the learner judger questions and notice how the questions affect you physically, emotionally, and intellectually. If you're like most people, judger questions may lead you to feel de-energized, fearful, negative, tense, or even a little blue. I often do this exercise in workshops. Some people have reported that they held their breath or even got a headache from thinking the judger questions. Now it's time to switch to learner. Take a deep breath, let go of the judger, and then slowly read the learner questions on the right side of the chart. Notice how you feel now. Many people report that learner questions make them feel energized, optimistic, open, hopeful, and more relaxed. They feel encouraged to look for solutions and possibilities. As one man noted, when I'm looking with learner's eyes, I feel hopeful about the future. You may discover, as Ben did, how questions associated with these two mindsets put you in distinctly different moods, and that these different moods positions you to act and relate quite differently. You may also discover that the world of experience and possibility is different in learner is different in learner than it is in judger. Explore how one or the other mindset impacts how you interact with the people around. How does judger mindset, yours or theirs, affect communications with a co-worker, spouse, child, or friend? And then ask yourself about the impact of the learner mindset.
Recording in progress.
So, chapter 7, seeing with new eyes, hearing with new ears. We started our next meeting with a question that had been disturbing me since early in my conversations with Joseph. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, I began. But given the problem judges throws our way, Joseph lifted his hand, signaling me to stop, and replied, none of us can avoid slipping into judger from time to time. It's only human. He then smiled enigmatically and added, but you can free yourself from the judger simply by accepting that part of yourself. Judger is not the problem. It's how we relate to the judger that makes all the difference. It's such a simple formula. Judger, switch, learner. I'm repeating the very powerful line, guys. but you can free yourself from the judger simply by accepting that part of yourself. Judger is not the problem. It's how we relate to the judger that makes all the difference. It's such a simple formula. Judger, switch, learner. But nobody can use it without beginning with acceptance. So it's very important. See, because everybody will go into the judger mode. It's normal, it's human. So don't criticize yourself that I'm being a judger again, I'm being a judger again. But the time you catch yourself that you're being a judger, that is the breakthrough. Because now you are aware that you're in a judger. Because earlier you were not aware that you were in a judger. So the catch is not that you will not be in a judger mode. You will be. It's normal. Everybody will do, and everybody is human. But the catch here is when I'm able to identify that I am in that learning mode and I now need to switch. That is the takeaway. So don't criticize yourself for being in a judger. It's normal. सबके साथ होगा, आपके साथ होगा, मेरे साथ होगा. It's going to happen with everybody. But the point where we catch ourselves being in that judger mindset, that is the breakthrough that we need to catch and then switch. And it's very important in this aspect of catching yourself in that judger mindset is to accept that part of you because that is normal. There is nothing abnormal about being a judger. Everybody will be a judger some point of the day or a number of times during the day. And that is not the issue that you should be bothered about or, criticize yourself. Oh, मैं फिर से judger में आ गई. ये क्या हो गया? I'm in the judger mode again. No. It's but natural, it's human, it will happen. Accepting that part of you simply states, catch yourself and switch. That is the takeaway. ये ना करना कि ये इस चीज को लेके बैठ जाओ मैं तो जजर में थी सारा टाइम मेरे जजर ने ऐसे बोला मेरे जजर ने ऐसे बोला नो everybody will go through it's okay don't criticize yourself just catch yourself and switch accept that part of you because that is normal that is human everybody will do that that doesn't make sense how can I be free of something that's part of me it does sound like a paradox doesn't it Joseph said but it is possible simple acceptance of what is creates a level playing field so that change is really possible. But leveling the field can also be challenging, especially if Jaja whispers in your ear a lot. Did Alexa ever tell you about her husband Stan's breakthrough? She mentioned it, I replied. You helped him make a pile of money as I understand it. He is very proud of that story, Joseph said. He used the QT tools to earn his way into my Hall of Fame. Stan, as Alexa may have told you, is in the investment business. Accepting his own judger turned out to be very profitable for him. Some years back, Stan was a very judgmental guy. He didn't think of himself that way, but many around him did. If he had a run in with someone or heard gossip about them that wasn't flattering, he just write them off. Stan will tell you that he clung to his assumptions and opinions like a bull terrier to a bone. He turned down many business opportunities on the basis of rumor, idle gossip, and guilt by association. He justified it all as a way of minimizing risk, which was only partially true. One time, he made a huge investment in a promising startup company. About a year later, the company hired a CEO who would be employed by a firm that was implicated in a big financial scandal. Although this new guy had been exonerated of any wrongdoing, Stan insisted that where there was smoke, there was fire. He was on the verge of pulling his money out, but was also in a great deal of conflict about the whole thing. Except for the CEO they'd hired, the company seemed to be doing everything right. About this time, Sarah and I had dinner with Stan and Alexa. We were discussing the learner judger material, and Alexa encouraged Stan to use switching questions to evaluate his investment decision. She suggested he apply the ABCC choice process to that issue. That's the tool I've been promising to tell you about. Stan agreed to try it, and he was amazed at what a big difference it made. Here is how the ABCC choice process works. A, aware. Am I in judger? Stan was very funny about this. After we described the characteristics of judger, Stan amazingly admitted that an awful lot of what we described applied to him. His response surprised us. Being in the judger is my forte. We all laughed, though we knew he was beginning to look at his behavior more honestly. B, breathe. Do I need to pause, step back, and look at the situation more objectively? Stan smiled at this question, took a deep breath, paused, and shortly admitted that he was being anything but objective, especially because so much money was involved. He really distrusted this new CEO, though he'd never even spoken with the man. C, curiosity. What's happening here? What are the facts? We asked Stan if he'd done anything to collect objective information. Did he have everything he needed to make a responsible judgment? Stan realized that he'd never gotten past his distaste for what he'd heard about the guy. But facts? No, he actually had no facts. And the last C is choose. What's my choice? Well, by then, Stan himself realized that he didn't have all the information he needed to make a wise choice. Because of his investment, he owed it to himself to check things out. A month later, Stan called to tell me he checked around and found out the new CEO was a good guy. Long story short, Stan left his money in, the company went public 2 years later, and he made a fortune. So let's look at this process of what is important. It says, whenever you are about to make a decision, you need to evaluate your decision, any decision, personal, professional, whatever. And now this is making a conscious decision, a decision where you are consciously aware. So you follow the A, B, C, C. Number one, A, are you aware? Are you aware which path are you on? Check your questions. Check whether you're in that judger lane or you are in that learner lane. Because it's very important when you are at that junction of making that choice to check where exactly are you. Are you in that judger lane? You need to switch. Or you at the start of making a decision and you are just having some judger presumptions. Not necessarily you are in the judger mode. It is possible that you can have some judger presumptions. So it's very important to be aware when you're making that choice and check. Judger mein hum decision to nahi le rahe. And very important. is B. Breathe. Take nice 2-3 deep breaths and then check what is it that I need to do. Do I need to step back? Do I need to look at the situation more objectively? What are the choices that I have? It's very important to use a clean breath for making a right decision, because everything inside is working with a breath. If there is no breath, there is no life. So when you're aware and then you consciously make that choice before making the actual choice of taking nice 3 deep breaths, it's like giving a power dose to your body. It's actually a power dose to your body. You can try it out in any situation where you feel, things are not in your control. Kya ho raha hai? Just take 4-5 nice deep breaths. You will automatically regain control, and there will be an influx of good prana, good breath, good energy inside you, which will get you more aware in terms of how to look at that situation or how to analyze that situation. Or is it that you need to take a step back? So it's very important. Second step, breath, very important. Not just making a decision, any part of your life where you feel stuck. The best remedy you can have without having any medicine, any meditation, nothing, is just take 4, 5 or 7, 11 tak bhi aap le sakte ho. Nice deep breaths. That prana will charge your body. That prana will, infuse such positive energy inside of you that whatever that was affecting you will now cease its effect and you will have a fresh perspective. And then when you talk about the A, B, C, C, the first C is to check. It's for curiosity. What's happening? What are the facts? Am I assuming anything? Do I have all facts? Is there any other point of view that needs to be considered? Because a lot of times, whatever we are thinking are the facts are generally mere assumptions, or it's generally our own judgments which become the assumptions, and we are very convinced that these are the facts. That's where we all get into that trap. So it's very important after that nice deep breath is to check what are the facts. Am I assuming anything? Is there any other point of view that I need to check? And once you've had that data with you, then you need to make that choice. Because now it's that aware choice where you are fully energized with your breath and you have all your facts clear with you to the best of your ability, so that you can now make this empowered choice for the desired consequences for which you are working on. So it's very important to be clear whenever you are in a situation where you need to switch or where you need to make a decision, is to follow this A, B, C, C. Awareness, breath, curiosity, choice. The whole situation made Stan stop and think. It was a real wake-up call for him, having realized how much money his judger almost cost him. Stan tells me he uses ABCC all the time. He even jokes that he's starting to hardwire those questions into his brain. None of this would have happened if he hadn't been able to simply accept and observe the judger part of himself. Using this process begins with awareness and acceptance, and then builds on it. Stan certainly reaped the rewards. If you meet Stan today, you'll still notice that he can be opinionated and judgmental. He knows that part of himself very well and accepts it. But now he doesn't allow it to blind him in making decisions. He even has a sense of humor about his Jaja. Great story, I said, and I really mean it. I found the ABCC formula in my workbook and jotted down a few notes. Think about Stan making all the money and my wife finally being successful with her weight, Joseph noted. If either of them had wasted time being judgmental about their own judger, they wouldn't have gotten to the first base in making the changes they want. This all sounds great. It really does. But here's something I'm stuck on. Learner can sound soft. Learners have to be strong. Leaders have to be strong and decisive. Leaders have to act tough and make tough calls. I don't see how being more of a learner can help me do that. How about Alexa? Joseph countered. How does she handle the tough calls? Point made. I responded quickly, thinking back to some difficult decisions she had made that I wouldn't have wanted to face myself. She could be tough as nails when the situation demanded it, yet I still feel respected even when she challenged me. Joseph continued, there's an important difference between learner tough and judger tough. You can get the job done from either position. However, a learner leader displays the kind of toughness that builds loyalty and respect, as well as cooperation and risk taking. Judger leaders are more likely to generate fear, distrust, and conflict around them. Was Joseph referring to my leadership style and Nightmare team? Rather than bringing that up, I challenged him about another reservation I had about alone. So it's very important when you're in that leadership role or when you're in that role where you are, you have somebody to look up to you. So a leader can be a parent, a leader can be a, in your office, at home, whatever, where your guidance is important. And as parents, your guidance is always important. And as a family member, also your guidance is always there for, all who are around you. होता ये है, when you are talking about from that perspective and rightly shared by Ben, the learner can sound or, seems like more of a mild guy who cannot, make that thing. But at times, the difference between a leader who is learner tough and judger tough is that when the learner tough empowers the team with questions, with the right tools, the team or the person who's taking that guidance get this feeling of connectedness, of ownership with whatever is it that they are doing. उनको कभी ये फीलिंग नहीं मिलती कि ये मेरे पे थोपा गया है. Because it's very important to know and check if you're working as a team, if you're working in a team and you want your team members to perform. Everybody wants them to. It's very important to ask them or make them ask the right questions and be learner tough rather than judger tough, because judger tough में ना वो कर तो देंगे, but that sense of ownership will not be there. वो डर के मारे करेंगे, पता नहीं यार निकाल ना दे, मतलब उनको एक सेंस ऑफ ओनरशिप नहीं आएगी उस डिसीजन की. और जब वो सेंस ऑफ ओनरशिप उस डिसीजन की आएगी ना, तो वो होल हार्टेड अप्रोच नहीं होती. बट अगर वो करने का डिसीजन थ्रू क्वेश्चंस, आपने उनके साथ वर्क किया और वो उनके अंदर आया कि हाँ मुझे ये करना है, he will give his heart out because that is his baby now. और ये उसके ऊपर थोपा नहीं गया है, उसके साथ क्रिएटिवली बात करके निकलवाया गया है. And that's the difference, that's the key. So if it's my own creation, I will give in my 100%. And if this has been forced upon me, chances are I might give 100%. It's not that I will not. You can give 100%. And chances are you will not give your wholehearted approach. For a moment, check. Since we are, in business, in work, in families, joint families, there's a lot of things that come to us. And a lot of thing comes through that forced route called the judger tough. When we do that task, what is it that is playing in our mind at that time? But in a situation where you have thought about to do something, probably on the same lines, and that is your baby, where you feel that sense of ownership, what was your reaction at that time when you wanted to do it because that was your creation? And what was your reaction, or how was your commitment level when things were forced upon you? So that is the difference. As a leader or as a contributor, where we are working with people in this social world, is we need to be learner tough rather than imposing things by being judger tough. Doesn't learners slow things down? I asked. Work is just one pressure and deadline after deadline. Another. Sometimes I'm staggered by the amount of things I need to do and how fast they have to happen. If I'd had to be in a learner all the time, wouldn't it take forever to get things done? I mean, wouldn't I end up more behind than ever? Joseph answered my question with more of his own. How many times when you were in a rush have you made a mistake, blamed yourself or others, and then had to do it all over? How much extra time did that take? In your haste, how many times have you been impatient or impolite to someone and then noticed that he or she didn't talk to you much after that? What's the cost in time, results, and even loyalty when you treat people like that? I just stared at him. It felt like he had been watching me in my office all day long, 5 days a week. Then he added, that's what happened when Jaja takes over at work. On the other hand, I've learned over and over from the folks in my question thinking Hall of Fame that learner actually helps them save time as well as be more productive. That's impressive, I said. It sure seems like life would be a lot simpler if we couldn't all just recognize and accept judger in ourselves, switch to learner, and operate from there. How true, Joseph said. That's one of the ultimate goals of question thinking. Imagine what work would be like if people did this most of the time. You would have a learner culture. You could even call yours a learner organization. About what you about, and what about your team, Ben? The one you complain about so much, are they in judger or learner most of the time? As the leader of the team, your results will only get better if theirs do. He paused for a moment, then added, think of all we've been discussing as a practice, something you pay attention to daily, sometimes hour by hour, sometimes moment by moment. You'll soon be seeing with new eyes and hearing with new ears. Joseph glanced at his watch. We've been talking quite a while. We can take a short break and then go on to the next step, or wait until the next time we get together. What do you want to do? I was torn. I needed time to digest what we've covered so far, but frankly, I was eager to hear the rest of what Joseph would tell me. I knew it would help with conversations that would soon be coming up with Charles and also with Grace. It took only a second to make my decision. Okay, let's go for it. So, learner teams, judger teams, we will be